Okay.
Here, I'm going to use it for a hymn sing, but do you want me to bring it? I'll just bring it to you when you come up. I'll do it before. Is that okay? Okay, good morning, everyone. And we're going to just start with a quick hymn sing. I know it's a little late, but these are all women composers and they're all in the Teal hymnal. We'll start with number 1017, Building a New Way. And if any of the choir want to help, it'd be great. Oh, I need to get the hymnal from
My voice worked on, I know.
Sorry, the hymnals are kind of buried underneath a bunch of stuff up there. Yeah, unfortunately, these are flat. Can somebody get one of the large print hymnals back there? Because they have the ring valves. In the meantime, I'll just use this. There's large print hymnals back there. They're like big versions of this.
Looks like Jenny's looking for it.
The ring valves.
I thought it went up on top. Yeah, Jenny seems to be.
Everything's a little,
Everybody's confused.
Someone could go get
Oh, yeah, they're working on it. Eileen has something.
Okay, anyway, we'll do this.
Here she comes. Here she comes. Yeah.
We'll see.
Is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Thank you. That's it.
Good morning. Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill, Unitarian Universalist. I am Michelle Itano, a member of the Worship Associates Ministry. I especially want to welcome any visitors or newcomers to our church and to call your attention to the special note for you, welcome guests and newcomers on the backside of the order of service. I would also like to welcome those of you attending online. Lyrics to hymns and all elements of the service may be found on the live stream screen. And a complete order of service, including this week's announcements, are available via the link in the Sunday morning email and on the church website. An in-person Sunday social is held immediately following the service. And today, we join you on the set of the church's incredible play, A Wrinkle in Time. Its closing performance is tonight at 5, and you can purchase tickets if you haven't already done so in the Sunday social or at the door. Each year, the Worship Associates Ministry hosts the greening of the sanctuary and the chili dinner immediately after the greening. Please look for us tabling during the coffee hour for more information about this December 2nd event. Please turn off or silence any cell phones during our service to maintain a worshipful experience. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. And now, Lisa Epner will present a Share the Plate for holiday meals.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lisa Epner, and I'm here to talk to you about holiday meals by the Interfaith Council coming up in next week. But before I talk to you about holiday meals, I'd like to give you the backstory. Holiday Meals was started by a former member of our church, Barbara Rudbell. This lovely woman's story drew me in to become involved in feeding those less fortunate in our community. Here are some of the facts about Barbara. During World War II, she was part of the resistance movement. She obtained false papers and helped Jews to find hiding places. Her family were friends with the Frank family, having gone to school with Margot Frank, older sister to Anne Frank. Life magazine features her in a story. There's a PBS interview of her that you can Google, and the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. has a 3-hour interview taped of her. So Barbara knew well about hunger and stood in bread lines during World War II. Today, with 2 major wars, hunger and breadlines exist again, and I feel great empathy for those suffering from these wars. But I also have empathy for families in our county who are jobless, possibly homeless, and have trouble putting food on the table. Thank goodness for food banks, and now, because of your donation, many families can enjoy a typical Thanksgiving Day meal at the Interfaith Council building in Carrboro on Main Street. Please give what you can to share the plate. If writing a check, put STP Holiday Meals in the memo line. If online, click on the URL code in the order of service, or you can mail a check to the church, care of Franklin Hirsch. And thank you so very much.
Thank you. Please stand in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 27 in the gray hymnal, I Am the Great and Fiery Force.
You'll notice the words to this hymn are by Hildegard Bingen, who I think we'll be hearing about today.
We are a community that has claimed the right of heresy. The word is woven into our foundation. It is a word of conscience and of courage. It is not rebellion for the sake of being rebellious. It is the willingness to stand up to bullies, to willful ignorance, and to hatred. We are the inheritors of a tradition of heretical women who stepped out beyond the conventions of their time, who did what they were told they could not, should not do, who spoke out and acted up, who defied laws that were unjust and claimed their rights as human beings. Today, let us seize this opportunity to celebrate those great heretics that have come before us. Come, let us worship together.
In the
You will find the words for our chalice lighting in your order of service. If you wish to do so, please join me in reading them. We are a people of memory. As inheritors of our ancestors' legacy, we hold their stories tenderly, gleaning wisdom from diverse journeys, united in hope for the future. Guide us to trust in love as we kindle this flame together.
Each week, we take time in our service to consider the joys and sorrows of this community. If you have a personal joy or sorrow that you would like to share, please come down to either side, put a stone in the water, and in a few words, share your joy or sorrow with us. Let us hold together this time of tenderness. So, please come down.
Good morning, I'm Jane Proven. I have several things that I'm very happy about. Number one was seeing my son Christopher and his two sons, Elliot and Davis, in the performance of A Wrinkle in Time, which is so spectacular. Please do not miss it. It's just amazing to see our kids and grandchildren up on this stage. Secondly, our son Ben and wife Sarah and two little girls have been living with us since the beginning of September, and continue to do so while they are selling their house, which just went under contract in Oakland, California. And now they're going to begin looking for a house. So they're going to be with us a few more months, but it's moving along, which I'm thrilled about. And I'm also so proud of our concert series because we are in competition now for the best of the Triangle. Today is the deadline to vote for us. Go check it out on the Indie and their instructions in our order of service today. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Milva Oken, and on Friday I had a great joy. We had about 12 women from the church, each donated one item, and we had two great big bags, flowers, cookies, cards, balloons, and given to the staff at the Planned Parenthood clinic here just outside of Chapel Hill. We had a request from their lead doctor saying you can imagine working in an environment where people are shouting and screaming hateful things when you come to work. And so congregations in the area are now taking the lead, bringing thank you baskets to the clinic. And so the clinic was so surprised to see us, and it really was a joyful moment. So thank you.
I'm Dan Hill. In the last 6 weeks, we've lost two friends from more than 50 years ago. Arnie passed after suffering for a year and a half with ALS, and Carl died after over a decade with Huntington's disease. Then on Tuesday, after only 2 or 3 hours of decline, we lost our little beagle Bailey. And life is just not the same.
I'm Shannon Richards, and this is my wife.
Did I do that? I'm sorry.
I don't think you did. I've been out for about 3 to 4 months, and I wanted to come up and let everyone know what good care I got from everyone in this congregation. I got cards and letters and food and entertainment and company, And I just appreciate this church so much for all that you do. And I brought Maureen up too because she's been my main caretaker. So, thank you.
We're going to go this way.
A final stone for those joys and sorrows that were not spoken today, but that we hold in our hearts. Let us take a moment and just reflect on what was shared today. Let's hold for the joys of watching our children and our grandchildren excel in this congregation. Let's celebrate families that are moving on in good ways and developing. Let's honor those long-term friends that have suffered and we have lost them. Beloved pets that we have lost. Let us honor the coming together of a congregation of women to support other women and do great things. And let's be grateful for this congregation coming to support one another when we need the support. Let's take a moment and just hold in love this congregation. Amen.
So I'll be singing the verses of this beautiful song, and I invite you to join me on the chorus. The words are simply the title of the song, I Am Light. Please join me on the choruses. I am light, I am light. 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 I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light, light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any other thing that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dreams I left behind. I am light, light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. Light, I am light. I am 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 divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am all light.
This morning's reading is a poem by Octavia Butler called You See This. You see this? This is what is in you, what makes you, what connects you. You are more than flesh and bone, more than blood and sinew, more than tendon and cartilage. You are forever. You are everything and everywhere all at once. You are universes and galaxies still undiscovered. You are stardust, quasar, nebula, light and light and light. Even if you feel like a black hole, even if you feel the world crumbling, even if you feel the cold of void, of evil, of hatred, of ignorance. They cannot box you. They are rooted in capitalism and greed, in the lies of their own supremacy. They are dirt, nutrients stripped, dry. Nothing. Dust. You are seed. You are universes. You are power. You are the soul of the constellations. You are time without end. Infinite. 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 You are creation, before creation, begetting creation. You are change. God is change. You are God. If and when you forget this, look to the heavens. See your destiny to take root among the stars.
And now it is time for our offertory. Freely have we received gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. Today, our generosity extends beyond these walls as we give to today's Share the Plate for holiday meals. If you wish to donate online, please point your camera at the QR code on the back of the order of service and tap on the banner that appears. Or you can find information on how to donate on the church's website. We will now receive the morning offering.
Nevertheless, Elizabeth, she took the floor, then she took a breath and read without qualms a letter Coretta, Scott King, Robert Strong. They censored her. The congressman said the senator will take her seat. No, through the chamber spread heat. She was warned Nevertheless, she persisted. Nevertheless, she persisted. Nevertheless, she persisted. Nevertheless, Malala, she wanted to be a scholar. The Taliban banned girls' education. She took a stand. It caused a stir. They got on the bus to silence her. The gunman said, "Who is Malala?" She blurred. She was warned. She was given an explanation. Nevertheless, she persisted. 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 Nevertheless, If you think you've seen this before, yes, you've seen this in hashtag form. You heard him first on the Senate floor. He thought he was silencing, but instead he penned a hook we might be licensing. Our volume he was heightening.
You can try to turn our track down or off, belittle or scoff, but our transmittal is cyclical, generational waves of being hushed, then a crash of sound. Our justice comes down to a gravitational. You can fill all these bars with Joan of Arc, Harriet Tubman, Alice Paul, and Rosa Parks. Sonia Sotomayor, Anita Hill, Hillary Rodham, Hermione, and Leia, my drama teacher, and your mama's grandmother's mama.
The first female president is alive at this moment in a classroom, raising her hand, standing on the shoulders of a miss on this list, and nevertheless, she's gonna persist.
Nevertheless, she persisted. 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 Nevertheless, she persisted, nevertheless.
Good morning. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I have a history of getting myself into trouble. And I know that we UUs have a reputation for being a little punk rock, for thumbing our noses at authority with great joy, for not really caring what other people think. Not me. I am not punk rock at all. I don't thumb my nose, and I care too much what other people think. Many UUs do not like rules. I love rules. I do my absolute best to follow them, and yet I still find myself landing in the soup. Over and over again. I was thrown out of the brownies. I was thrown out of a confirmation class. I was thrown out of a Catholic college. And I still do not understand why. Now, many of you may say, rock on. But it was never my intention to cause trouble or get thrown out. I couldn't help myself. I have a habit of saying what is in my heart and what's on my mind. Surprisingly, though, each time I stepped forward and spoke my mind and I just waited for my army of peers to rise up, nothing. I was alone. It's painful to step forward and find yourself alone, especially when you know what you're doing is just and right, and no one's with you. So today, I want to talk about women that were really without peers in their time. Those who were supposed to keep quiet and could not. And I'm focusing on women But I also mean to include anyone who has faced the obstacles of trying to voice themselves. Those are members of the LGBTQIA community, people with disabilities, anyone who has lived in a family or a community that has silenced them. And I want everyone to know that they are welcome and included today. The term heretic is a fascinating one. It usually means someone who goes against the teachings of the church, but it also means those that go against the established beliefs of customs and society. And there are so many people that I can speak about, and I'm sure every one of you has a favorite heretic, someone that you hold close to your heart. I can't get to all of them today. So I chose 3 people that spoke most directly to me and to my heart. They followed a path that came from deep within themselves. They were complete originals in their thinking and in their work. And in my mind, they shifted our world into a better direction. Their impact is long-lasting and permanent. I'm going to speak about Hildegard of Bingen, Harriet Tubman, and Frida Kahlo. Now, Hildegard of Bingen was a 12th century Catholic nun who was not just a heretic, she was a total boss. She was given by her family to the church when she was 8 years old. She suffered from blinding migraines, and she was overwhelmed by waking visions that she felt were coming from the divine. It wasn't around when she was the age of 40, where she became the abbess of the convent, that she felt like she had the right to express her art, her writings. She felt safe in communicating what she wanted to share because she had some power. She was a painter, a musician, a prophetess. She humbled herself before the church hierarchy and received permission to write, to perform her music. She was even given permission by the Pope himself. The music she composed was based on an idea of celestial harmony, of sound penetrating the universe. She created paintings depicting spiritual visions. She developed a system of natural medicines, preached new religious beliefs, and wrote the first morality play. She even invented her own language. She was one of the few women in the history of the Catholic Church given permission to preach, which she did not start doing until the age of 60. I would like to give a shout out to older women starting to preach. She started traveling all along the Rhineland. She spoke in church after church in huge congregations. She spoke in Köln to enormous audiences coming out of a tiny convent where she did not interact with anybody. As her fame grew, wealthy women were sent to the convent that she was teaching at, and the church gained wealth and property because of these young women, and this gave Hildegard some power. She developed her own religious concept, something called Veritas, the greening, and it represented a more feminine spirituality, invoking healthy forces of nature, that the flow of energy or life force in the universe is parallel with the force in us. She offered a concept of health and interconnectedness. She studied herbs and medicines, and she encouraged a balance of connecting to nature. What she did not believe in was the strong movement of self-flagellation going on in her time. She did not believe that we were inherently wrong, dirty, or deserving of abuse. Her work inspired many of the modern movements of greenness and naturalist. Her power came from a voice within. She believed that God was speaking to and through her while she was fully awake. She is exciting to me because she was able to bypass the entire Catholic Church structure, Because her unique spirituality was also lucrative, the papal structure was forced to bend to her will. Towards the end of her life, she was excommunicated for standing up for her beliefs, but in the end, she was welcomed back because she did not give in. She never took no for an answer because she answered to a higher voice, one that I argue came from deep within herself. She was able to accomplish marvelous things that we still appreciate 1,000 years later. The next person I'd like to speak about is Harriet Tubman, who also answered to a higher power. At the age of 13, she was hit in the head with a 2-pound weight. It crushed part of her skull. For the rest of her life, she suffered from seizures and headaches and narcolepsy. After this injury, she began experiencing voices and visions. According to Harriet, she would hear the Spirit of God speak to her with clear words while she was wide awake. Every day, this voice would speak to her. It was the voice that compelled her to escape from enslavement and guide her to return, helping others escape. She voluntarily returned to a place where she was wanted, hunted, and had absolutely no rights to her own body. She later returned again as a scout and a spy for the Union Army, putting herself at unimaginable risk. Harriet said that she wasn't afraid. She believed it was the voice of God telling her what to do. And if she was listening to the voice of God, how could the actions of any one person scare her? Facing an army of weapons was nothing compared to the absolute might of her higher power. She never stopped hearing that voice. It guided her throughout her life. Now, I personally have a hard time believing that the God she believed in waited around for her to have a major head injury to start speaking to her, to notice her. It's much easier for me to believe that the experience of injury unlocked something spiritual and powerful in her. It allowed her to hear her own voice, her own deep personal courage for the first time. Harriet came from a family with a history of strength. When she was little, her mother was told that her youngest son was going to be sold to another family. She hid him away for days, at great risk. When the enslaver came for him again, Harriet's mother threatened to kill him if he ever tried to touch her child again. This taught Harriet the possibility of saying no to powerful forces. This was a word amplified by her own voice 1,000 times over, and she used it throughout her life. Now, Harriet Tubman may not be the first name that comes to mind when I say the word heretic, but Harriet Tubman stepped out against laws, religious teachings, and all common beliefs of her time, more than anyone else I can think of. Another person that comes to mind when I think about independent voices is the artist Frida Kahlo. She was born in Mexico City after the violence of the Civil War. Frida had an innate rebellious streak, but she was afflicted with polio as a child and eventually recovered. She began studying for a career in medicine at the age of 18, but she was almost killed when a streetcar collided with a bus. She spent months in bed and for long stretches of time throughout her life. She endured many surgeries and procedures and was in almost constant pain. During her recovery, she learned to paint on her own. She eventually met and married the artist Diego Rivera. They shared a passion for art and certainly politics. Sometimes Rivera would push his wife too far with his extramarital relationships, and she would leave him. And she would drop the beautiful outfits and the woven hair. She would cut her hair, put on a man's suit, and she would paint what came from the very deepest part of her. She was not formally trained in painting, and she developed a style that was very much her own. She painted who she was, how she felt, and what was going on within her own body. She painted her illnesses, her miscarriages, and her suffering. Her subject material was beyond taboo for her time. When she was called a surrealist, she said no. No. Surrealists paint their dreams. I paint my reality. She wasn't considered an artist in her own right until she was in her late 30s. She was given her own show and wasn't given her own show in Mexico until the very end of her life. She was so ill, the doctor said she could not leave her bed, so she made her friends pick up her bed and carry her into the gallery to experience her own show. Despite the pain and suffering of her life, her last painting was this lush, glorious painting of juicy, almost overripe watermelons. And what was written underneath was "Viva la vida," or "Long live life." Her work was unique, it was deeply spiritual, and also connected to this natural world. And she painted all the animals that she kept around her that sort of took the place of the children she had lost. She painted her own self-portrait later and used her own image to depict what was going on in her heart. Her voice was radical, powerful, disturbing, and uniquely her own. She didn't bow to anyone's idea of what her art or her politics should be. She lived as she pleased. She took both male and female lovers and did not apologize to anyone for who she was. She was even called out for embracing her now much too famous monobrow. When she was questioned about it, she simply replied, "Why shouldn't I be who I am? Who should I please?" And rightly so. Who else should she please? Hildegard von Bingen, Harriet Tubman, and Frida Kahlo all suffered from crippling injuries or ailments. All three had to spend long periods of time isolated and alone, laying in bed recovering. Now, I don't point this out because I believe that we must get injured or be severely ill to hear our own voices. But extreme isolation and time to think created an environment where these women could actually hear themselves. This is not an opportunity that many other women in their times had. They also kept going and fighting despite crippling pain and physical instability. I cannot imagine for Harriet Tubman walking through the woods knowing that you had seizures and narcolepsy. I can't imagine what courage that took. But in all fairness, I think that for many of us, an accident, a serious illness, a severe trauma, it can shake us from the foundational understandings we have about our connection to ourselves. It's not the shaking that is so important. It's the willingness to open ourselves up, to embrace the stillness and the quiet that allows for true, deep listening. None of these women were professionally trained in their callings. They had to find their own way, but that made their voices completely unique and authentic. They were alone in their time. This year's theme is connection. Today, my point is about connecting to our deepest self, our inner voice, and our light. Now, you can communicate with this physically, spiritually, intellectually, musically, it doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that some of you can't already hear your deepest self. But for me, it is something that I am still working on. I believe that there is something deeply and profoundly beautiful in every one of us. Something uniquely our own. Something that can come from no one but us. We need to honor that voice and live through it as if it is some sort of divine power guiding us forward, pushing us beyond fear, allowing us to confront the bullies, the willful ignorance, and the hatred that we face today. I am eternally grateful for all of those that came before me and demanded that their voices be heard. So, I ask all you heretics out there, you know who you are, especially some of you with dogs with pink mohawks. In honor of all of those who have been silenced, let us use the voices that we have. Let us lift the light that we have been given. Let us become the change that builds a new path forward for ourselves and for all the generations yet to come. Amen. Blessed be.
Please stand in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 34 in the gray hymnal, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. Please remain standing in body or spirit. The words for extinguishing the chalice are in your order of service. Please join me if you wish to do so. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Let's take a moment to thank everyone who made this morning's service so incredible. Please join us in singing Shalom. The words are in your order of service. As you are comfortable, please either hold hands with the person next to you or cross your arms over your heart. And please join us in the Jones Building after for all the work the RE community has been doing. They've been making pumpkin pies this morning.